please welcome Jack Lovelace.
It conveyed many different emotions and thoughts that work together intrinsically to convey a personal story for every one of you. A simple piece of music goes from normal to exhilarating just by listening to it. How did you feel? Musical storytelling is something that is deeply personal to me. I've been playing piano since I was 4 1/2 and writing stories since even earlier than that. Ever since my fingers first tickled the ebonies and ivories of the piano, I was astonished by how much power just one pressing down of a finger could have. I wasn't exactly Shakespeare either when it came to writing, but both arts fascinated me in the way that they were so simple and yet so effective. And when you combine both of these arts, the result is sheer brilliance. Musical storytelling is rooted in personal interpretation. Although the composer means for it to be expressed in a certain way, its interpretation is really left up to its listeners. Stories, although they can be different connotatively, are more rigid than music in this way. I would argue that people analyze stories by trying to figure out what it is exactly that the author is trying to say. In contrast, people analyze music by trying to figure out what exactly they felt during its performance. It is the juxtaposition of these two traits that makes musical storytelling so truly powerful. Although the composer does mean for it to be expressed in a certain way, the audience may glean something from it that is altogether different. This brings up another point. Musical storytelling is deeply synesthetic. This is when you ostensibly take something in only through one sense, but actually you are feeling it with multiple senses. Musical storytelling is so synesthetic. Seemingly, all that you are doing is just listening to music. But in reality, it evokes more feelings that ends up making musical storytelling uniquely meaningful and powerful to every listener. As a burgeoning musical composer, I can say that it is this quality of music that makes music so truly powerful and exceptional. Last year, I composed a musical composition for my history exam project. I composed little vignettes of music that represented every American history unit from Reconstruction on through World War II. I put so much thought and care into every one of this project's sections. When I finally presented it, I explained what I believed to be an analysis of my music from my own personal interpretation, and then I played it and opened it up to my classmates' perspective. It was so amazing to hear the myriad of different perspectives that my classmates had about my music. My music had blossomed from a personal story to a language that was universally understandable. I cannot think of any other artistic platform that can achieve this level of inspiration so quickly. Ever since the days of hominids, when cavemen created music by replicating the sounds of nature, they talked to each other, which is, in itself, a form of music. Today, although our society is mostly digitally based, we still talk to each other. Musical storytelling is always present in our lives, whether it manifests itself in talking, using music to exercise, or even in zipping Velcro. Although I will focus on instrumental musical storytelling in my speech, this is a crucial point that you really need to truly understand my talk. Musical storytelling has always been an important trait culturally. According to the Bible, King David sang his psalms out to the Lord, the result of evocative Jewish music that had existed thousands of years before he came around. Music was also used as a crucial background to Greek dramatic performances, without which they could not have achieved the level of influence that they did. Musical storytelling is a way to examine cultures vastly different from one's own. The two examples I just gave you were music as a background to talking or as music that included talking. However, these next examples that I will provide are purely instrumental, and music serves as a backdrop to nothing. Have any of you ever heard of the guy boom? Raise your hand if you have. Not many of you. Okay, so the guy boom was an instrument that was created in the 6th century in Korea. It is a 12-stringed board zither that is strummed. The very best guy boom players of the time used their talent to showcase telling stories musically. With the sound between that of a zither and that of a cello, its sound is rich, though also delicate. The stories told through the guy boom became equally popular, or even more popular, than spoken stories at the time. Today, the guy boom is the national instrument of Korea. In traditional Native American culture, a shaman, someone in touch with the spirits, interprets the spirit's message through a mystical dance ritual. These dance rituals usually took place at powwows, and still do to this day. The shaman would interpret his own way of the dance one time, and after it became clear that he had started over, the other natives joined in with him and began to join into a cheer. The most significant example of this is the Wovoken ghost dance. This was created during the time of the American westward expansion, or the mid to late 1800s, when Americans and the Native Americans were fighting over control of Western land. It was at this time that Wovoka, a shaman of the period, started dancing. His dance became a religious movement for the moribund natives, close to being defeated by the Americans, and soon inherited a cult following. It became a symbol of defiance of white culture. There are two main examples of musical storytelling from the last 100 years that are especially close to my heart. The first is Sergei Prokofiev's masterpiece, Peter of the Wolf. This piece symphonically tells the story of a young boy, Peter, who tries to capture a wolf. Scored for a full orchestra, its fluidity is similar to that of the text on a page. Ever since its publication in 1936, the music has since become a standard for adults and children alike. The next example is Walt Disney's Fantasia. This is a collection of classical pieces that are quite famous, actually, told as stories visually, with their own setting and time. For example, Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, or the Pastoral, is told set to Greek mythology. Instead of being the backdrop here, the music truly is the central feature. In summary, musical storytelling is an immense concept. From being present in music, or something like Fantasia, or in something as generic as talking, musical storytelling is truly everywhere in our lives, and has proven to be an imperative part of every society. I charge you to explore one of these examples of musical storytelling that I have given you today in my speech. You will be surprised how different your perspectives of these things is, and you will only benefit from this renewed outlook. Above all, music is a great voyage of discovery, and I encourage you to take part. Thank you.